Hi there, welcome to BSF Recovery Team. Well, as you can see, we're still in the garage, but we don't have the wrecker behind us right now. We have the Jeep. And that's because we were doing a little maintenance on the Jeep and we found a problem that we have to correct before the next time it goes out. And that is, we have a loose wheel bearing, or more specifically, a unitized hub bearing, like a lot of vehicles use now. And sometimes they can be a little difficult to change. But I have a little trick that might make it a little easier next time you have to change one. Shall we share that with you now? How do we know our wheel bearing's loose? Well, with the tire off the ground, we grab it at 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock and try and wiggle it when we have some movement. Next we have to check and see if that movement's from the ball joints or the bearing. We'll watch and take a look here with Jeff grabbing the tire and wiggling it. We can see that our ball joints and our outer knuckle are staying in place, but our axle shaft is moving quite a bit. That means that the movement is in the hub or the bearing. After removing the tire, the next step is to remove the brake caliper so you can get the rotor off. As you can see, this Jeep's been in the mud. It follows the wrecker around. Now, with the rotor removed, we can remove the cotter pin. From the axle shaft nut and its lock piece. Then we can take that nut off. Now, we want to push the axle shaft back out of the hub a little bit. And you don't ever want to pound with a hammer on the end of this, because you might mushroom the threads a little bit, mess them up, make it hard to get the nut back on. What you want to do is you want to make sure, if you're going to pound on it, to use a punch in the center, or in our case, air hammer. Next, you want to take the 3 bolts out of the back side of the hub. In this case, the factory bolts are a 13 millimeter 12 point. So you need a 13 millimeter 12 point socket, and my suggestion is make it a pretty good one. Don't use a cheap one. Otherwise it'll round those 12 points off, and then you'll have a real problem. Alright, we loosened up our 3 hub bolts, like this front one here, but we didn't take them all the way out, and I'll show you why in a minute. When you're changing one of these hubs, one of the most difficult parts is trying to get the hub out of the knuckle. Sometimes they rust in there pretty good, and they're kind of a interference fit. So when they don't want to come out, sometimes it takes a lot of pounding, hammering. Sometimes people try and force a chisel in between the hub and the knuckle, mess up the metal. It gets really ugly. But here's a little trick that I think might help you out. And the reason we can get away with this trick is because along with our hub and bearing, we also bought brand new bolts. As you can see, now our hub is separated from the casting. We can take the bolts the rest of the way out and change our hub. Now with our bolts all the way out and our shaft loose, it's just a matter of pulling the hub off and cleaning it up so we can put the new one on. Cleaning the rust out of the center hole in the knuckle is always a good idea, along with polishing off the face. A little wire brush action on the splines of the axle shaft. And if your Jeep even goes half the places that this one does, this little bottle of silver stuff can be your friend. You don't have to use a lot, just a light coating will do. Now we're ready to put our brake shield on. Make sure you put it on the right direction. If you put it on the wrong way, then it'll interfere with your brakes when you go to put them on. So make sure you put it on in the right direction. and in the right spot. You slide your hub on. With our 3 hub bolts tight, now it's time for the washer and the axle shaft nut. And we just snug that up for the moment. Now we can put our brake rotor back on. And our brake caliper. Alright, now with the brakes installed, we can torque our hub nut or our axle shaft nut to specifications, which in this case is about 175 pounds. If we have Jeff step on the brakes, then he can hold it and we'll torque it to spec. Okay, and now our cover to lock the nut in place and a new cotter pin. Now we can put the wheel on, we're all set to go. And there you go, another quick tech tip from BSF Recovery Team. Keep wheeling, stay safe, subscribe to this channel, share my videos, and maybe we'll see you out there in the woods.